Obviously, this is a very serious topic inside the life coaching cult that takes over lives. But at the same time, this could be seen as a great advertisement for life coaching that's so good that they coach you to give up your life to somebody. Apparently, this is about Lighthouse, which promises life coaching to help people realize their dreams. But an 18-month investigation by the BBC finds it takes over people's lives, separates people from their loved ones, and harasses its critics. This is basically how cults work. When I was going through I did a couple deep dive videos on cults for the main channel, and this is exactly how cults work. Basically, they get into your head, they make you think that everyone's against you and that you need to cut those people off, get you alone, and then get you to give up money, usually. Money, influence, whatever it is you've got to give. So it would seem Lighthouse is kind of like a cult. Jeff Lee Jones had only been part of Lighthouse for a few months when his girlfriend Dawn noticed something strange was going off. Jeff no longer seemed himself. Jeff had joined the pioneering life coaching and mentoring group to help him find more direction. He had been planning a solo hike to the South Pole and thought a coach could help him get more disciplined. But then Jeff began spending all day on secretive phone calls and avoiding friends and family. He discovered World of Warcraft, back when it used to be good. He even sold his house to invest more money in the group. Wow, that's crazy. The idea that you could be convinced to sell your home to invest in the group. You're not investing at all, you're just giving them money. You don't get stock, you don't get equity. This is not an investment, at least not a financial investment anyway, because the only return you're going to get is, oh, the group's going to like me more, they're going to, give me more time one-on-one with the gurus. One day, Dawn overheard one of Jeff's many supposedly motivational daily calls. It wasn't about the South Pole at all, it was about her. Oh no. Jeff was told he needed to choose between Lighthouse and his family. Jesus. This is just straight brainwashing. Pure cult behaviour. In November 2021, Dawn contacted the BBC. We've had private investigator reports into Lighthouse, she says, but you can only ever go so far. She was nervous. Lighthouse isn't an ordinary life coaching organisation. Dawn explained, it's a cult. I knew it. I knew it was coming. Of course it is. They all work like this. It's the same fucking playbook every time. Life coaching is a booming UK industry. There are an estimated 80,000 to 100,000 people working in the field. That's mad. I know guru and life coaching online is huge. People are going to get pissed off, but I'm going to bring it up again. People like Andrew Tate, the reach that these people have, and he's the most mainstream one, of course, to use as an example. There are hundreds of thousands of these little groups you will never hear of that do stuff like this. Ones that even target specific people and basically spearfish them to try and go after them on Instagram and things like that, and then just bleed money out of them. In the past few years, Lighthouse, formerly known as the Lighthouse International Group and based in the Midlands in England, god damn it, has received hundreds of thousands of pounds from mentees. It boasts of helping thousands of people. Set up in 2012 by businessman Paul Wag, it claims to be different from most life coaching groups, yes, in the way that it's a fucking cult. Its founder, who grew up in South Africa and tells people he was a multimillionaire by the age of 35, says he has developed a revolutionary approach by fixing people's... It's always got this element to it as well, cults. We're very unique because of some, and then explain reason that can't be pointed to by science. Spiritual well-being, of course. Usually religion, spiritual, something like aliens, something like that as well is quite common. Something that's beyond yourself that you can believe in, some ethereal force, essentially. When Jeff found the group via an online book club run by a Lighthouse devotee called Jay Singh, he thought it could help him too. Jeff says he was looking for inspiration from someone successful, and Jay, a former property developer in his late 30s with a calm and engaging manner, seemed to be just that man. I thought he was smart, recalls Jeff. He was interested in the same ideas I was interested in. Of course he was. Of course, that's the bait. Pretty soon the pair spoke daily, sometimes for hours at a time. Gradually, conversations drifted into Jeff's personal life, relationship troubles, his past, his insecurities. The honesty seemed to help Jeff focus. It was brilliant at first, Jeff says, of these early sessions. He soon paid £10,000 for a year-long mentoring course to help improve his discipline. I was motivated. I was inspired. After several months, Jay offered Jeff the chance to get more involved with Lighthouse. Jeff was delighted, even if it did cost him £25,000. So think of a job, an average job in the UK, 35 grand from one client within, several months, whatever that means. It'd be nice if we knew the actual time frame. But imagine you've got multiple people you're doing this to, that you're extracting this sort of money out. This is like a 6-figure yearly job, just exploiting people that are looking for help. It was a lot of money, but Jay had warned the price would soon go up further if he delayed this. Oh my God. It has all the hallmarks of a cult, even financial cults, FOMO, like investment schemes, things like that. Oh, you've got to get this now. You've seen this on all guru websites, by the way. You go on and it's like Ty Lopez's course. If you buy now, it's $1,000. But if you buy tomorrow, it's going to go back up to $5,000. And who wouldn't want to miss such an amazing deal? So they get you with that. Like, you've got to get in now. And besides, Jeff was told he would make the money back with all the new business opportunities that would surely follow, of course. He said it would be the best opportunity for me to succeed, says Jeff. Jeff became something called a Lighthouse Associate Elect. I bet he did. It meant he could tap into Lighthouse's network of brilliant entrepreneurs, sitting in on their daily meetings and even training to be a mentor himself. It's also, not only is it a cult, it's a fucking pyramid scheme. How has this not been shut down yet? This is illegal. This is surely illegal, because what products are they selling? Because the difference between like a pyramid scheme and a MLM, like a multi-level marketing scheme, I'm fairly sure the distinction that makes one illegal and one legal is that an MLM, while using a pyramid-like structure, makes most of their money from selling products, whereas a pyramid scheme makes most of their money from selling the course to other people, essentially like recruiting people in. So while MLMs have the exact same mechanisms of recruiting people and then getting money from the people you recruited, as a pyramid scheme does, the pyramid scheme doesn't really make any money from selling the product they pretend to sell. That's what makes it illegal. So what product are these guys selling? I guess the life coaching, but if that's the scamming in and of itself, surely this is illegal. He would also get guidance from Lighthouse boss Paul Wog. Jay said Paul counted Bill Gates and Warren Buffett among his contacts. Yeah, of course he does. Jeff handed over the money and Lighthouse began to take over his life. Every morning at 5, Jeff would prepare for a daily call where Lighthouse business would be discussed. Initially it was just a catch-up, but within 6 months the call sprawled to 5 or 6 hours long with up to 30 people online. Jeff shut himself in a room deep in concentration, eyes locked on his laptop, following a peculiar ritual of transcribing Paul Wog's thoughts and ideas. The schedule, often running between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m., was relentless with little time off. But these calls weren't what Jeff had signed up for. He paid this guy 35 grand so he could be a personal assistant transcribing meetings. Call transcripts seen by the BBC reveal little of the expected talk of self-help, networking and business success. They recorded something quite different. This is about to get real interesting. Perhaps the most important idea in Lighthouse is something called the levels. Called it. Paul Wog, borrowing ideas of a famous American psychiatrist called M. Scott Peck, says everyone falls into one of 4 levels of spiritual development. Level 1 is a chaotic childlike state, while level 4 is a conscious and present person, free of constraints and fear. The key to success, explained Paul in his calls, was to get to level 4, treating life like an RPG, only for severe mental illness and exploitation. Jeff was told he needed weeks of work to get there and achieve his goals, but weeks became months and months became a year. Lighthouse founder Paul, I mean, he doesn't look all too much different than what I was picturing in my head. When Jeff got frustrated on one call, Jay told him to up his efforts and stop being emotionally lazy. True. In fact, only one person in Lighthouse was a level 4, and that was Paul Wog himself. Of course he was. Nobody's on Paul's level. Everyone else was stuck at level 1, and the main reason for that, the Lighthouse founder said, was the negative influences around them. Paul has since said a handful of other Lighthouse seniors have finally reached level 4 after more than a decade with the group. Lighthouse also pushes the idea that the greatest obstacle to climbing the levels is often a person's family and friends. Of course, fuck those people who love you and that you like and that like you and that give your life some form of meaning beyond the fucking existential grind of just living in this hellscape that we're currently in. Fuck those people, get rid of them, give me more money, and you can get to be a level 4 spiritual shaman like Paul. Again, this is just pure cult behaviour, and I don't know how this man's not been arrested yet, if this is true, of course. All families have difficulties, and Lighthouse would find them, says Jeff. Find them in your journal, or find them in your personal mentoring. Families, said Lighthouse to Jeff, were narcissistic and controlling, including his own. They didn't want to let their loved ones go, and they would sabotage mentees' potential, Jeff was told. They were dangerous. Yep, clearly they are the danger. Erin, who became a Lighthouse Associate-elect at the same time as Jeff, tells a similar story. She joined after a divorce, hoping to kickstart a new career, and at first it seemed like a decent way to do it. An investment in herself, the group called it, but talk of business opportunities turned into revisiting her difficult past. Nobody's ever been helped by one of these. If you sincerely want to better yourself and invest in yourself, just use that money to learn something. Not by somebody saying that they're going to teach you how to be like a entrepreneur or something. That is a scam. In 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100, learn a language, learn a skill that you can monetize, start a business, invest in a business. Don't do this. Ever. Erin, whose name we have changed, told her mentor that when she was about 13, she'd been sexually abused by someone known to her family. Oh god, this is taking a real dark turn. Darker than a cult, taking over people's lives, I guess. Lighthouse wanted her to take her parents to court and make them pay for not taking better care of her. Erin now believes it was to free up more money, which she could then invest into Lighthouse. Yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking. Why aren't you taking it out on them? Paul Ward said on one call to her. Why aren't you trying to get justice there? Yeah, taking money from your parents after the fact is clearly going to help matters. We've now spoken to 20 people who have left Lighthouse. A similar pattern has emerged. People join a mentoring group, usually looking for a career change or new direction. Things start off well, and happy mentees invest more money. But before long, it drifts into endless introspection about troubled backgrounds and awkward families, who mentees are encouraged to think of as toxic influences to avoid. Life coaching is not a regulated industry with strict professional codes like psychotherapy, and while there are qualifications available, anyone can claim to be a life coach. Thousands do. Yeah, I think this is one of those things that current society and the internet in general is just way far behind where we need to be on certain things. Like, this is so obvious where obviously it's not going to stop bad actors still doing illegal things, because running a cult is illegal as far as I'm aware, and a pyramid scheme would be as well. But it is probably easy to regulate and to educate people if you know there's a qualification for this, and if they don't have it, then it's bad and you shouldn't be doing it. So the government definitely needs to do something about this. Paul said, what qualifies us is experience. Mentoring isn't a qualification, it's an experiential thing. But coaching in the wrong hands can be dangerous. Absolutely, yeah. Before he joined Lighthouse, 30-year-old Anthony Church had struggled with anxiety and depression, suffered a breakdown and attempted suicide. Early mentoring sessions with Jay Singh seemed to help, and he eventually handed over £5,000, half his life savings, for more coaching. After a while, Jay encouraged Anthony to reduce his medication, even coaching him on what to tell his doctors to convince them his mental health had improved. Wow. I know people in the world are fucked. Like, there's some really evil people out there, but can you imagine being this fucking absolute, disgusting, vile person that somebody is attempted to take their own life and you're convincing them to get off their medication that a doctor has put them on? Whether we think that it's going to help or not, like, apply this to any situation ever. Medical professional tells person, do this. You, not a medical professional, not a brain professional, not an anything professional other than a dickhead professional, come in and say, stop listening to the professionals, man. Just do these things that we want you to do. Segregate yourself from people and give us money. And then obviously what they're hoping is that you spiral out of control and then put all of your trust and all of your eggs in their basket and give them all your money. They don't give a fuck if you die. They don't care. That's all they want. They want your money. Recordings of calls handed to the BBC revealed Jay telling Anthony that medication is not a long-term solution because it doesn't encourage the person to consciously make decisions to command and reprogram the subconscious mind. All right then, Jay, dickhead. When a doctor agreed to cut down his dosage, Anthony started complaining of withdrawal symptoms. Jay said it was part of the process. Caroline Jesper, head of professional standards at the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy, listened to hours of calls between Anthony and Jay and said if any of her members behaved in this way, the association would investigate under its professional conduct procedure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Those who became part of Lighthouse were told slightly different things about what the money they paid was for, but they were all told their investment bought them pioneering Lighthouse mentoring which would transform their lives. I mean, they weren't wrong. This is transforming your life, just not in the positive way you would assume from that marketing. Often they were told they would make their money back quickly through networking opportunities, of course. One of the first things you'll see on any government website about like spotting a scam, promises of quick returns. It's like the number one thing on most websites. It's the way you can spot a scam basically straight up. If something promises you returns, then it's a scam. Because obviously even investing in stock is not a promise of return, because you might just invest in a stock and then the company goes bankrupt, or XYZ, the world changes, recession hits. There is no promise in investing in anything. They were also told they were helping to fund Lighthouse's charity work in Africa. Well, I mean, that dude's South African, right? So I guess you could spin that one. Former mentees say they were encouraged to borrow money to pay for courses. Erin says she got a credit card at Jay's suggestion. To devote himself full-time to Lighthouse, Jeff stopped working and sold his house. Jesus. Ultimately investing £131,000 in the group. But according to the people we spoke to, none of the returns ever materialised. Yeah, of course not. After 2 years, doubt started to creep in for Jeff, but he knew Lighthouse could be ruthless with dissenters. Oh no, what are they going to do? When Anthony began querying whether Lighthouse was helping him, Jay said he was being paranoid as a result of withdrawal symptoms from his medication. Yeah, you can't trust your own judgment. You're crazy. When he left and sent other Lighthouse mentees information about cults, Jay threatened to call the police. Hello, police? Yeah, this person I've inducted into a cult and trying to potentially ruin his mental health to the point where he no longer exists on this planet is threatening to tell the other people that I'm trying to onboard into my cult that this is in fact a cult. Yeah, it's really going to help out, isn't it? And when another former mentee, a teacher in her 50s named Jo, discussed her experiences on an online forum, a senior Lighthouse member contacted her school and said she was a danger to children. Holy shit. This is fucking crazy. Well, do your best to me, motherfuckers. And do your best to the BBC. Erin, meanwhile, was berated as a cynical old witch when she asked about where her money had gone. Paul reminded her they had recordings of her disclosures about the abuse she'd suffered as a child, so they're just blackmailing people. These people need to go to prison. Like, if this is true, prison, straight away. I started to become increasingly unwell, says Erin. I'd even physically throw up. And when she did eventually leave, Paul made good on his threats in a YouTube video where he named Erin. Oh my god. He's recording evidence. If I don't see in the news that this guy's been arrested and subsequently convicted, then where's the justice in the world? If BBC has all this shit and it's been turned over to police, this guy's fucked. He later edited her name out after being warned that identifying a victim of sexual offence without their consent was a criminal offence. The turning point for Jeff was when he took time off to visit his dad in the US. Away from Lighthouse, he began to see things differently. He recalled playing golf with Paul Wog and watching a senior mentor scurrying after him carrying his equipment. At one point, the senior mentor dropped to his knees to tie Paul's undone shoelace. Oh, this guy's obviously got a god complex. Can you imagine? I can't. I live in Thailand at the moment, as I like to mention in almost every video, according to some comments. And I have a maid come in and clean the condo sometimes because I just don't want to do it. And labour's like relatively cheap here. And I feel bad for paying somebody who that is their job and they're going to be doing it anyway. And then I generously tip them for cleaning the condo. Can you imagine just having somebody you're abusing literally dropping to their knees in public to tie your shoes? You've got to be psychotic for this to be a thing that you would ever let somebody do. I thought, is that where I'm going? Yes. I realised the level of control he had over these people. When Jeff returned and announced he was quitting, Paul Wog bombarded him with messages, some friendly, some hostile, to try to get him to stay. Lighthouse told him to wait 2 years for any return on his money and warned him that creating controversy could jeopardise his investment. There is no investment. Jeff asked for a refund and the group responded by saying it would be stepping up investigations into Jeff and his girlfriend Dawn. Yeah, right then, mate. Investigating what? In the end, Lighthouse contacted Dawn's employers and claimed she was a dangerous internet bully. Mate, these people are psychotic. This is psychotic. This is way crazier than what I thought it was going to be when it was linked on my Discord earlier. I might do a full deep dive video on this. If there's like videos on YouTube and stuff to use of this dude, this seems like an incredibly interesting topic. Attacking critics seems to be part of the group's modus operandi when we put our allegations to Paul Wog and Lighthouse. I don't know if I'm saying his name, by the way, but we're just going to keep calling him Wog because he is a fucking disgusting, vile creature, so... The group claimed data protection rules prevented them from responding properly. Yeah, it accused the BBC of being part of a smear campaign and went on to target online people who it suspected we'd interviewed, including Jeff and Dawn. 7 Lighthouse-related accounts were shut down by Twitter for hateful conduct shortly after we first got in touch with Paul, including one named Parents Against Trolls. More than 40 people who have left Lighthouse or have loved ones in the group or have been close to its leader spoke to the BBC for this story. Many others were scared to speak. Unsurprisingly, they already tried to ruin people's lives while getting paid. And then as soon as you try to leave or speak up, they try to ruin your life even further. Yet there are dozens of people who remain part of Lighthouse today, and for many of them, Paul Waugh's promised high life remains out of reach. By the way, when I covered another cult, a Western one, not the South Korean one, on the main channel, they was contacting me and shit and sending me emails, just unhinged fucking emails and messages for months afterwards, and recording videos talking to me and stuff. I've never watched any of them because they were unhinged lunatics, so I'm not going to. But this is the type of stuff you're dealing with. And they were trying to go on social media and paint me as a liar and probably a bunch of other stuff that I'm just never going to look at because they're irrelevant, of course. They have no social media reach. I was able to walk away, but I don't think a lot of people in there have anything to walk to. Of course, they've committed too much, Jeff says. Yeah, they gave it all up to the cult, and that's why they do this to you. Because if you've got no money, no family, no friends, you are then a servant to these people, essentially a slave, and you've got nowhere to go. Nobody can pull you out. The only way this ends is if this person goes to prison and then somehow miraculously you manage to get all your stuff back. But you're not going to get your family or friends back some of the time. Hopefully most people would accept you back, but at the same time, but it's not always a guarantee. But that's exactly why they do this, because when you've got nothing left to lose, you've got nothing to drag you out of this, then they have you completely. It's why they all operate in this exact same way. One woman who rented a 6-bedroom house to Paul Waugh said she ended up with 8 Lighthouse team members living there. The house became absolutely filthy and every bedroom had been converted into a bedsit. For a time after they all moved out, 3 or 4 letters arrived daily about unpaid bills. Another ex-landlord told us he had received about 150 letters from debt collection agencies addressed to people involved in Lighthouse. The BBC searched public records and found 17 county court judgments against 9 current members of Lighthouse. Jay Singh, Jeff's mentor, had £20,000 worth of unpaid debts. Paul Waugh had no county court judgments against him. That's because Jay Singh, despite pulling in £131,000 from Jeff, and probably a lot more from other people, was also a fucking zealot. So he was giving all the money, kicking all the money back up to Paul. And then Paul was spending it all on fuck knows what, probably burgers and cocaine. Nearly all those who have been part of Lighthouse have told us they think Lighthouse is a cult. It is. I'm telling you right now, it fits every definition of a cult. It has the additional element to it, it has the money element to it. It's ostracizing you from your friends and family, alienating you to everyone in your life to recruit you in. And then you're following either a single leader or a single idea or ideology. And the single leader is Paul fucking Waugh-face here. Everyone we spoke to with family members involved in Lighthouse think the same, and Lighthouse is a growing concern to the people who monitor cults too. We spoke to 10 different cult experts from the UK, US and Canada. Among them are 5 people with PhDs, 2 winners of the Margaret Singer Award for Cultic Studies, and 3 accredited therapists with extensive experience working with ex-cult members. It's a cult. It is. 7 of these experts told us they believe Lighthouse is a cult. 2 preferred a different terminology. Yeah, there's a new term that they use now that people were telling me, oh, that's not a cult. Usually people in a cult would say this to you, but they prefer to be called new religious movement or something like that instead of a cult. It's a fucking cult, brother. Although both said they were concerned about Lighthouse, the final experts said they would rather not comment. Pussy. One charity which helps people break free from abuse groups, Catalyst, says it now receives more calls about Lighthouse than any other UK organisation, with over 30 people asking for help. Sitting on day-long mentoring phone calls seems a far cry from the popular image of a cult, where depictions tend to be about mysticism and new religions. But the experts say cults are opportunistic, latching onto new trends, even if that is self-help for entrepreneurs. They are defined by how they can control members' money, time, and even thoughts. Yeah, I don't think it has to be a religious thing. Like I said, you even have this mysticism element of this spiritual thing that they're selling. So I'm not sure why this specific point is in there, because that is technically what it is. It's Paul has this system that he believes in, that everyone should believe in, and this is how the world works. And it's about, you've got to be on my spiritual level to be a great person and have all the good things in life and live a high life like me. aka be a fucking narcissistic god complex weirdo that exploits people, aka most influencers. Cult expert and social psychologist Dr. Alexandra Stein says there's such a strong stereotype that the only culture in California where people wear long orange robes. There is a cult in your neighborhood. This is straight facts, yeah. People think cult and they think like we're hiding in a compound in the middle of nowhere in America and performing like satanic rituals and stuff. Cults in the modern day, you can make a point that some like cryptocurrency communities are like cults and how they operate and how they turn one individual as to be like the key focus in their life, and they put all their money in and then put all their emotions and everything into the person. It's not quite as bad as a real cult, but you can definitely draw parallels between them. It's like missing the one key aspect of the actual person in charge of the crypto convincing you to leave your family and things like that. That would be one of the few things that they're missing. She says for people with loved ones inside a cult, it's like a living death, partly because attempts to criticize the group often backfire, leaving them unsure how to act. Yeah, this is one of those things, like I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. Sometimes someone in your life who you love is in a situation where you can't do anything to help them because you can't force them to do something. And if you try to, they'll cut you out of their life, and then basically you can't even try to like be there for them or kind of like subtly influence choices and try to help them in the best ways that they allow you to. If there's no way to force somebody to do something, which most of the time there isn't, some people just can't be helped in certain situations. Like, what do you do? Who has the answers? Cults want families to get angry and complain, so the family needs to avoid criticism, stay in touch and be available, Stein advises. She accepts it can be extremely challenging. Yeah, exactly. And this goes for a lot of things as well, like addiction as well. Addiction's a big thing, although sometimes you can get somebody help for addiction. Mental health problems is another thing, unless you want to be the person who gets somebody sectioned or something and put in like an institution and hope that gets them solved and they get out and forgive you for doing that. Like, it's a whole mess trying to help people. Karina Deichler, whose brother Chris has been part of Lighthouse for more than a decade, says that when they were younger, the pair were more like best friends than siblings. But last year, when Karina wrote about her concerns about Lighthouse online, Chris reported her to the police for being an internet troll. The police took no action, of course. So her brother, who joined the cult 10 years ago, reported her to the police for being an internet troll, for talking about the cult. It's just crazy, Karina says. I just feel numb now. I'd so love to have him back. In February this year, the UK government made an application for the firm behind Lighthouse International Group Holdings Trading LLP, to be closed down. Good. Fucking prison, this guy. After investigating it since June 2022, the business secretary argued the company was working against the public interest. Easy, yeah. According to court filings presented by government investigators, Lighthouse was not keeping proper records and was not cooperating with their investigation, which meant it was impossible to determine the true nature of the business. Paul Warg failed to attend at least 5 scheduled interviews and even told investigators he was not going to help them. And, mate, we're soft in this fucking country. I don't know what laws this breaks, but if at any point a government body is investigating you and you turn around to them and say, yeah, I'm just not going to help you, surely they should just be able to arrest you for that. In America, if you turn around to the IRS and said, I'm not going to help you, a SWAT team would bust in through the fucking window with AR-15s and drag you off. And that's if you didn't pay $5 of your taxes that they knew you owed and then made you report it anyway so that they could catch you and justify the fact that an entire accounting industry exists. It was found that between March 2018 and July 2022, more than £1.2 million was paid to Paul Warg himself. Holy shit. He's making a fucking wedge. Roughly half the firm's income. So the firm's made $2.4 million in 4 years and all they do is just exploit people. There's no business. The company also did not appear to pay tax or any ordinary business expenses such as rent or utilities. Prison. Paul Warg argues he receives more than half the money because he pays for some of Lighthouse's expenses himself and is the biggest investor in the people at Lighthouse. On 29th March this year, there was a hearing at the Royal Courts of Justice in London, attended by around 20 Lighthouse associates and mentees, including Paul Warg. Government investigators told the court it was wholly unclear what Lighthouse actually does. Who are these fucking investigators? I can tell you right now. They exploit people for personal gain of Paul Warg, the cult leader. Despite the claims of pioneering research, they could only identify significant amounts of money passing to Paul Warg as its prime mover. Judge Cheryl Jones decided it was in the public interest to close down Lighthouse International Group Holdings Trading LLP. So they just closed his company, which does that even matter when he's not paying taxes anyway? Like, why the fuck does this make any difference to anything ever? As he left the courtroom, Paul Warg told us he had wanted to close Lighthouse down for a while, but that the group would not be stopping its work. It was now going global. When asked why so many people think his group is a cult, he said, "They don't know what a cult is. They're slurring us, they're smearing us. He added that most of our allegations were absolute nonsense. I can't even use the words that I want to use about Mr. Paul here. Otherwise, my channel will just get demonetized. He later posted online that he was working on a documentary called A Very British Broadcasting Cult. He's literally doing I'm Rubber Your Glue. BBC called us a cult. Well, you're a cult, BBC. Knowing our podcast series is titled A Very British Cult, and his version of this would investigate Catherine Nye's sinister cover-up attempt. Lighthouse argues it has helped lots of people overcome obstacles to their potential through mentoring, life coaching, counselling, and community support. It also says people who have given money were investing in themselves and are not entitled to refunds, of course. Although Lighthouse International Group Holdings is now in receivership, there's little to stop the people behind it carrying on its work. Surely common sense and the law is there. The group is already evolving since it came under scrutiny. It has started to rebrand with a new emphasis on Christianity rather than self-help. We're getting that final element in, boys. Its website says it now trades as Lighthouse Global, which promises to share our 18-year journey from personal development into Christ and the persecution we have suffered along the way. Fucking dickhead. Jeff doesn't expect those involved will think any differently after the court case. They are thinking, I've got to protect Lighthouse, I've got to protect Paul Warg. Logic is gone. The day after his firm was shut down by a judge, Paul Warg went on Twitter and says, quote, I asked the judge to close our old company down, he wrote, triumphantly. It was a masterstroke, replied one of his followers. Oh my god. What a fucking Jesus Christ. I mean, that was an interesting read, but holy shit, there's a whole lot of stuff to go into here if they're all over social media and stuff. I love to see the reaction of this man when they see this video. But yeah, thanks for watching, I guess, guys. I put myself in the crosshairs yet again, of course, just for reading an article. But yeah, see you next time. Peace out.